this is off today, so we're just trying to do the best we can. I don't know if Bob Esslinger is on the phone yet.
Yeah, I can see Bob.
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, hi Bob. Yeah, Bob just called me a few minutes ago. We don't have minutes from the January meeting. As you'll recall, the April meeting was canceled, so the last minutes would have been from January, and he has those. He's just not in a position to where he can send those out. So we'll just forward those at the next meeting. So there won't be any minutes to approve. And so Leslie, I will turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Gary, for coordinating this for everyone. I'll call our meeting to order. Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope everybody is well and staying healthy. I think we should probably go through a quick roll call just to make sure that we can document who's here, and then so if we want to start, I don't know how to I don't know if my order on the screen is the same as everyone, but I can see that Bruce is with us, Bob, Rich, Brian, David, Margaret's on the phone, and then Katie is here, and Ray and Fred from Smart Zone, and Paulette. And I see that Mr. Molnar is with us, and then I see a couple other numbers that I don't recognize, and I can't see people behind, so.
Mr. Adamini is with me.
Okay.
He came to get a lesson from his daughter as to how to get on here. And she just barely got Bruce on here when the meeting started. So I'm tagging along.
So I'm not sure who's absent. Gary, can you help me with the roster?
Oh, sure. Let me just wait somewhere. I got it.
Thank you.
Let me just go down the roll real quick. So Mark Canelli. I'll take that as he's not here. Margaret Brum is on the phone.
Here.
Okay.
Here.
David Rayomi.
He's here.
He's here. Cool. Dan Emmendorfer. I'll take that as a no.
I don't think so.
Bruce Heikela is here. Leslie, you're here. Bob is here. Brian Cherry is here, right?
Yep.
Okay. Rich Rossway.
I'm here.
Yep, Rich is here.
Okay, Rich is here. Steve Adamini is with Bruce. So we do have a quorum. Looks like we're missing Mark Canelli and Dan Emmendorfer.
So I take a motion to excuse our absent members.
I make a motion to excuse our absent members.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Brian. All those in favor to excuse our two absent members, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. So Gary did make mention that we, I guess a change to the agenda, that we won't be approving our previous minutes. Any other changes to our agenda for today? Anything else we need to discuss? I don't want to cut anyone off, but if I don't hear any other changes, can I get a motion to approve our agenda as it stands?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Support.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does anyone opposed?
Who supported that?
Rich
Who's Brett?
Rossway.
And David, do you have your hand up for a question or support?
Support.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I have a complete recollection of who everyone is on my screen. So I want to make sure if we have any public, any other public people here that want a chance to talk, I open the floor up for that. Okay. So our new business, again, we won't be going over our minutes. So the next item on our agenda is the TIF distribution to Innovate Marquette Enterprise Corporation, the Smart Zone.
Yes. With your permission, Chair, I would like to kind of explain.
Sure.
So
please.
we don't have a distribution currently ready. The normal distribution, this would be 25%.
Mhm.
And then the next meeting in October, we'll be distributing the 75%. The normal distribution we were prepared to do today is roughly 163,800. The state, because of COVID-19 and trying to provide relief to taxpayers, has ordered an extra border review. Normally the border review is done in March, and then we have all the numbers that we need. But the state has ordered a border review for July 21st, which will impact the tax bills we have already mailed out. So we hesitated because it's gonna possibly screw up the books for our end of year stuff and our tax settlement with the county. So in talking with the city treasurer, we thought it best to wait until we have the results from the border review, because any adjustments that flow through will have to flow through this distribution. So even though I said we were prepared to do 163,800, that number could change based on border review, and we should know that, you know, by the first week in August. So what I'm hoping we can do, if the board is okay with it, that you go ahead and approve distributing the money once we know what that number is, and I will certainly provide that number, you know, as soon as it becomes available, and we'll get that to the Smart Zone folks, because I'm sure they can probably use some money. But right now, just because of circumstances, we feel it best to delay this until we have a more firm number, which will, like I said, probably be by the first week in August. We should have that number.
Gary, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is my understanding correct in that the top figure number is the number you gave us, and the only thing that could happen with the border review is that number could be decreased but not increased, correct?
Correct, because people are going to come in and try to get a reduction in their taxable values. It's highly unlikely somebody will come in and argue for a raise in their taxable values, so the most likely outcome is the number will be less.
Fair assessment.
Yeah, we just have no idea what that number will be, and so that's why we hesitate to distribute it now, because it could really screw up the books if we go ahead and distribute it, and then we have to ask for a refund later, kind of a thing. So.
Well, how do we do that, practically speaking? Do we approve a distribution pending the review, and whatever the review says, that's the money we distribute? Because normally when we approve it, we approve a dollar figure.
Correct. And the way you stated it is a good way to put it, if you're so inclined. The other option is we could do a special meeting in August just to approve that number. But, you know, and I will certainly do whatever the board decides, but my preference would be you go ahead and pre-approve it, and I'll just notify you what that number is in August when we have that number.
Does anyone have any additional questions for Gary, or do we want Bob?
Well, I was just going to say, I'll make the motion to approve distribution of not more than $163,800 pending results of the border review, which should change that amount slightly.
Support.
Thank you. Can I have a vote of all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gary, for the explanation. Okay, and so everyone should have just gotten an email within probably the last half an hour or so from Gary, which includes the financial report from Katie. I don't know if we can, Katie, if we want to do any screen sharing or, but anyway, I'll turn the floor over to you if you want to give us a summary of the draft financials that we all just received.
Sure. The screen share, I'm going off my phone right now, so hopefully everybody has the financials. If you're not able to see them, I will do my best to try and just kind of point out some of the big items that are on the financials. So what was—
Hey, Katie, before you start, so did everybody get a copy? Fred Molnar, did you get a copy? Okay. Everybody else
Yes,
get
I
a
did,
copy?
Ray. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
that those
Thanks.
kind of came late. The draft financials have been done for a while, but we had some kind of last minute changes to the budget versus actual. So anyway, we've got a balance sheet as of June 30th. There's a profit and loss comparison to the prior year for the whole year, full year to date. And then we did the profit and loss by class like we usually provide, that, you know, shows what's in Bennett, NMU, MEDC, and so on. So I guess I'll start with the balance sheet. We did end the quarter with just over 749,000 in cash. 74,000 of that was a PPP loan. The Smart Zone did get a PPP loan. There has been discussion about whether or not we're going to ask for forgiveness or we're going to pay it back. Most of that is kind of dependent on what the last quarter TIF is going to be, because that was planned into our budget. So with everything being so uncertain, our board requested that we get the PPP loan. You know, we're kind of relooking at the necessity need of that loan, if it was really necessary or not. So, you know, more information to come on that, but right now, you know, we did request that. So you will see that on the financials, both the in the cash as well as in the liability section. A couple items with the liability section. There will be another $40,000 payment by the end of this fiscal year to repay the city. So that cash is spoken for, as well as Ray and his team have been working on a very large EDA grant, and that grant is dependent highly on the ability to get a cash match. So you will see in the equity section that we would like to, I guess, set aside about $236,000 of our cash to make that cash match happen. We did have some contributors that were planning on helping us with the cash match kind of drop out on us because of all the COVID stuff. So those are kind of the hot items balance sheet. Did anybody have any questions on any of that? And I apologize if I went through all that really quickly.
Extremely difficult to read off your iPhone.
What was that?
And can you run briefly through these loans? Where did we get them from?
Where did you get what? Where did we get what from?
I'm sorry. Can you run briefly through these loans you spoke of? What organizations loaned us money?
The Smart Zone has a loan from the city of Marquette that was given in the inception of the Smart Zone to help with cash flow, and so we are on track on paying them back, and so 40,000 of that is paid back this year, and then I believe we'll just have one more payment next year for like 55,000, and then the city will be all settled up with the city. The other loan is a PPP loan. It was part of the CARES Act. That is a federal loan to help companies keep their people on payroll throughout the pandemic. So since, like I said before, since things were very uncertain on where we were going to come in with our second TIF distribution, we decided to take the loan since it was available as another resource to the Smart Zone. And so those are the two loans that we have.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm assuming that PPP, you will fit the criteria for the loan forgiveness in its entirety.
Yeah, if the Smart Zone were to apply for forgiveness, I believe that they would be granted forgiveness of it. But our board just kind of, wanted to relook at it and determine, whether thought it was really necessary or not, and maybe in good faith pay it back. So that is a discussion that we've had. There has been no official determination on asking for forgiveness or not. So
Okay.
but yeah, they would definitely fit the criteria, especially with the new rules with the PPP extending it for payroll. The period, it would definitely be forgiven, I believe, if that were to be requested. So
Can we circle back with Bruce? Because we couldn't understand your question, Bruce.
I just said it's hard to read it. It would be nice if we could get the financials before the meeting, especially trying to read off your iPhone.
Sure. Any other questions on the balance sheet, or are we ready to move forward? Thanks, Katie.
okay. Yeah, if you those that are able to look at the profit and loss, right now our year-to-date total income is about $724,000. The vast majority of that is the TIF proceeds that we've received. A lot of the income, comparing it to last year, as far as Inventa, NMU, and the MEDC, are a lot lower. One of the reasons why these are draft financials is that we don't have an income number for the MEDC yet. There was another extension. I believe it's about $50,000 for that we're supposed to receive, but that payment is not coming until the first deposit isn't going to come to October. So we haven't put the income side of that onto these financials yet. I need to sit down with Paulette and Rachel and discuss the coverage period, since these are accrual financials, to see, which period we should be picking up that additional MEDC income. So you won't see that in these. Once I have that sit down with them, we can finalize these financials. But that's the only thing that's essentially missing from these. So you'll see the MEDC grant income is only $18,750 for the current year. Other than that, the in-kind contributions, we kind of go over every quarter that's the space rent that Inventa NMU provides for the Smart Zone. Other than that, if we look at a comparison from the previous year, our expenses, are a little bit higher, but of course that comes with more activity, as far as, we have a lot more consulting services for the cybersecurity and that this year. But otherwise, everything else is somewhat consistent. A lot more marketing in that. There was a PR firm that has been contracted to help with marketing and stuff like that. So those are the expenses really gone up from the previous year, but everything else is pretty consistent. Our events and education, that one has gone down significantly. Obviously, we haven't really been able to do too much. Excuse me, the last few months, a lot of events that were planned and everything, Ray and his team are just unable to do them because of all the social distancing and everything. So But yeah, so at the end of the quarter, we're coming down to net income of 217,000. So any questions on that profit and loss, or any items that you have questions on?
I'm a little confused. You said there was more expenses because you were doing more, and then I heard because of the virus, it wasn't possible to do the events you had planned. Did I misunderstand that? Because I got two different impressions there.
Right, and I realized that after I said that, how that kind of sounded. So Ray and his team, they are, venturing towards a cybersecurity initiative. And so before all of the COVID and that happened, they have been contracting with Keith Glendon and his team and some other consultants to put together the cybersecurity initiative and the plan. So a lot of that consulting, so a lot of what's been happening in the increase in expenses has to do with planning and starting these initiatives versus the expenses that are down are the actual like in-person events like the Business on Tap and the Women's in Entrepreneurship, things that, events that the Smart Zone would put on and welcome the public to that they're unable to, hold. So those expenses are down, but the consulting and the marketing is up because, in lieu of being able to do these physical events and, in-person events, it's a lot of the money has gone towards, planning and the initiatives and that, which were budgeted for anyway. This year we were planning on, making those spends to get this initiative off the ground. So that is on track. But the events and such are down because they just can't happen. Does that help clarify that?
It did help clarify that. So are we to understand in the event that the COVID-19 situation resolves itself, that the organization is ready to move forward on these events that have been pre-planned that simply couldn't take place right now?
I guess that's a question for Ray, but I'm sure, once we're able to do things that, more events and stuff like that would take place. So most of the events that they did were series, where they would, bring an expert in to talk about a certain topic and that. So, so the ones that weren't able to happen, they might just be a different topic next time around, but that's a question for Ray.
Yeah, let me answer. So Margaret, I think the short answer is yes. In fact, we have a whole schedule of events that I think was in the last packet of information that I sent to the LDFA for the last quarter's meeting, where you could see we highlighted this is postponed, this is postponed. I don't have one of those in this deck that I'll present in a few minutes, but rest assured that we have a team of people sort of chomping at the bit to do additional events around women in entrepreneurship, startups, accelerator, expertise, and all those related to the mission of the Smart Zone.
Thank you for that clarification. It's good to know that we're ready to go when we can go.
Yeah, and I would add one more thing. We have been operating full steam ahead, 100% remotely. And I'll talk a little bit about that in my remarks here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments on the profit and loss? Okay, well, I guess, the next two items where there is a profit and loss by class. It's the same year-to-date financial, except for it only shows the current year. And again, it's separated by class, so you can see the income and expenses broken out relative to where the funding was sourced. So Inventa NMU, the Gatekeeper, and MEDC sponsorships. So again, I had kind of briefly touched on, there is an extension, the MEDC gatekeeper, but we haven't fully worked that in to the financials. I think they gave Ray a contract and he signed it, but we're still waiting on them on their end. So, you know, there's more to come on that. So
It's grinding through the process, I'm sure.
Yeah. So with everybody, you know, brain and, you know, on it. And like he said, we're working full time and full speed ahead in that. But I think things on the state level are a little slow right now. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about that unless anybody has any questions on anything. The Inventa NMU, that's, you know, a reimbursement. So you'll see that, you know, the income that's brought in is fully expensed for that. They reimburse the expenses that the Smart Zone has in helping to manage Inventa NMU. And other than that, you know, everything else kind of falls in that Smart Zone column that would be TIF related and anything else that the Smart Zone does. So, and then the last one was just a budget performance. This was kind of a joint effort statement. It uses one of my original templates, and then Paulette helped fill it in, putting the budget in there. So it says cash basis at the top, but the actual figures, I had her adjust those so that they would match the accrual basis on the profit and loss. But then on the bottom, she kind of does like a cash flow that shows, you know, what the cash was at the beginning, what the cash basis revenue over expenses would be, and then any capital expenditures, and then ending cash. So it's just kind of an informational piece there. But really, we've always taken a conservative look at our budget, but we've, you know, kind of understated what we thought income would be, and we kind of fluff our expenses a little bit. So it's pretty typical that, you know, we come in over budget on income and under budget on expenses, but, you know, that's kind of by design. Like I said, we take a very conservative approach to the budget just in case things happen. And of course, this year we've had a pandemic, so things have happened.
Stuff is happening.
It's still happening, yeah. So, and you know, things change along the way. These come up, like that EDA grant and everything. So, of course, that doesn't necessarily fit into this budget, but yeah, so I'm not really going to cover too much on this unless anybody has any questions, but that was kind of the general gist of it, is that, you know, we're over budget on income and under budget on expenses. So
Okay. Thank you, Katie. And Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, Katie, just a quick question. You had mentioned at the beginning, I thought you had said that these were not drafts anymore. Is this it does have draft written across the top of what we were sent. Is this a draft document, or is this the actual?
no, these are drafts because I don't have final information on the MEDC income to put in there. But everything else should be actual figures. So the financials were done, except for the fact that I can't finalize that MEDC income piece just yet.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Katie or the team? Well, thank you for the update. It's great to see the progress that we're making there, and that we're, you know, performing to the budget or outperforming the budget, especially like everyone has mentioned what's going on with the COVID situation. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time.
So next, Ray, I'll turn it over to you for an update on the Smart Zone operations. And I think Ray's going to share a screen.
Yeah, I'm going to try and share my screen. Can everybody see that, I hope?
I can.
All right. So thank you. Thanks, Katie, for doing that. I know I'm looking at my watch. How much time do we have? Who's the clock?
I think we said 5 is what Gary said. We had to stop by 5.
At 5. Yes. Okay. So I have a good update. I sent a similar update last quarter to everybody. I know we couldn't meet, but we went ahead and sent that. Katie just went through all the financials. You have a copy of that. Thanks, Katie. From an operational standpoint, I wanted to focus on, as we had talked, the CEO search committee update. So everyone should know by now that we are in the final stretch of a new CEO search. And today, this meeting is probably my last LDFA meeting. So I want to take that moment to thank all the LDFA members, especially Gary, who's been here since the beginning, for all the support and certainly all of the confidence that they've had in me and the Smart Zone. I'll give you a quick update of where we're at. We had a search committee formed, and that was made up of, if you see the first bullet there, Brad Canale from the NMU Foundation, Dr. Fritz Erickson, the president of the university here, Rich Vanderveen, one of our board members, Matthew Songer, a board member, Russ Tripp, a board member, and myself. We're the search committee. We retained Fred Taccolini, also filled in for some absentees a couple of times. He's on our call here today. We retained Staying Decision Systems. They did a nationwide search. We had over 130 inquiries from local, downstate, and national candidates. Over 40 candidates formally applied and completed online vetting process. We shortlisted that to 16 qualified candidates. All went through a very in-depth testing and phone screen by our recruiter and computer-based testing and problem solving. We reviewed all that data as a search committee. We came down to 5, what we thought were very actually it was 7 qualified candidates. 2 dropped out. We completed a Zoom video interview for each one of the finalists. We asked each finalist to present a 90-day plan if they were hired. We went through that with every finalist. And then we completed a in-person interview with the selected finalist, with the search committee, the Smart Zone board members, and a couple other of our ecosystem partners. Gary had an opportunity to meet the candidate as well. And so the search committee is making a recommendation tomorrow to hire Joseph Teal from Traverse City. His start date would be Monday, July 27th. And we have, a press announcement and following the initial onboarding targeted for the week of August 3rd. And certainly part of that will be an invite and an introduction of this candidate to the LDFA board members. Any questions on that?
Yeah, can you describe briefly what this gentleman was doing in Traverse City when he applied for the job?
Yes, he had been involved quite heavily in the in technology startups, primarily in the communications business, with early stage startups, with raising venture money, with raising angel investment, and all things related to early stage entrepreneurial startups and his own entrepreneurial journey. So he comes pretty steeped in that world.
Thank you.
So we'll look forward to the opportunity to invite all the LDFA members to either a lunch or a coffee or a meet and greet with Joe once he kind of gets his feet wet. I will also say that the timing is such that we do have a board transition going on as well. Most of those, well, all of those that you see here in yellow, which are part of our board, were here from the early beginning, from either 2015 and in some cases a bit before that. Fred Taccolini, who's on the call, Matthew Songer, Brad Canale, Steve Hicks, Jeff Wallace, will all be rotating off the board. And so we have a slate of 4 new board members. We just recently added Tom Anthos And then we have a slate of 4 new board members that are being presented as nominees tomorrow at the Smart Zone board meeting that would then be able to start when these 5 drop off at October 1st timeframe. So real quickly, from an operational standpoint, we always like to start off with, a reminder that, through the support of Fred Molnar, who's on the call, and the MEDC, and Fritz Erickson and the folks at NMU, that we've created this one-stop shop for all inventors and entrepreneurs that brought the Smart Zone and Invent at NMU together under one roof. This is the idea incubator that we call Powered by Students and Led by Professionals. Whether it's a product idea or a business idea, we're here to help. And I will happy to report that since inception of that program, there's been over 667 ideas through the door. Bob Esslinger, who's on the call as well, was here in the early days with Dave Olala and others to start this program. And so Bob, 667 is a big number. And what's interesting is it's still one new idea every 3 working days. And we hope that we'll be able to continue to do that. Here's what's interesting to me. Since COVID-19 struck, we've actually had 39 ideas submitted. Now, I would have thought, frankly, that it would have sort of gone to 0. So I'm pretty pleased that there's still entrepreneurial spirit out there, and they're still reaching out to us, albeit that we are not in our office. We are not having face-to-face. We are 100% remote using Zoom as our communications vehicle. And we also offered a special deal that we partnered with the university that they called the program Wildcats Mean Business. And we offered to any business, startup, small business that needed help during COVID, that we have a team of students and professionals available to help. We had 20 businesses reach out to us over the last, 6 to 8 to 10 weeks since COVID hit. We completed work on 8 of those. We're actively still working with 3, and I can give you some examples. What we found very interestingly is many of these small businesses had no online presence or a very weak online presence. And when COVID hit, that really exposed them. And so we have a team of students and experts in this area of creating websites and doing digital marketing strategy, et cetera, that has really been able to help these folks. And we're proud to say that we had a handful that we've been able to help out, and several of them are continuing as clients. Currently, there are 32 active projects being worked by the team at the Smart Zone and Invent at NMU, again, 100% remotely. So we have 5 full-time Smart Zone employees, and I think is it 11 students, Paulette? Is it?
It's currently 7.
7 students that are currently. School is ready to start, evidently, I think around August 17th. And so we have a full cadre of folks ready and able to work and are servicing these 32 active projects. We use all the tools, Zoom, Asana, Slack. You can see here's an example of a weekly meeting that we have with our student team, and a weekly meeting, actually a twice-a-week meeting with our management team via Zoom. And so we are being productive. And we continue to work our social media. And I implore everyone to follow us at the Smart Zone and Invent at NMU. We're having Facebook engagements, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're getting shares that are being well received. We have click rates that are up, which are good. And then we have a newsletter that we'll be sending out, if we haven't already sent out, that is being well received as well. So we we're operating on all cylinders. COVID hasn't stopped the Smart Zone, and COVID hasn't stopped Invented NMU. So keep in mind, whether it's high tech, low tech, or no tech, we believe that all ideas are worth exploring. And we have a way to help you, whether it's the Invented NMU program or the Smart Zone. We encourage entrepreneurs and inventors and innovators to bring their ideas forward. Let me shift gears real quick. The EDA grant was mentioned, and we've talked about it at least at the last two LDFA meetings. The Rural Innovation Strategy that brings 21st century prosperity to rural America. We submitted a proposal June 14th. The funding breakdown was, we expect if we win, we'll get close to almost $600,000 of EDA cash. We have a matching component at the Smart Zone that Katie talked about, $236,000 over a 3-year period. The NMU Foundation has kicked in $85,000. We were expecting more from some other partners. It didn't happen. We had to scale back our proposal a little bit, but we feel pretty strong about our opportunity in winning this proposal. The focus is really on 5 areas: innovation, creating and supporting innovators and entrepreneurship, regional connectivity, especially in the UP, is getting word out and programs that people can connect to, whether it be in person or online via Zoom, commercialization of research that may be going on in our universities or other places, and then looking at really, especially in the cyber and the digital economy, really looking at workforce training for the future. Our grant activities are really around education, meetups, women in entrepreneurship, about investors and investing and getting ready to pitch to investors, showcasing startups that are in our sphere. We're going to hire a full-time mentor resource manager and talent attraction strategy. We've started with establishing incubator space in the what used to be the Ampersand co-working space, which is now Campfire. There's a plan to move our Smart Zone office and Invented NMU to incubator space in a flagship downtown innovation center on 3rd and Main, providing clients with access to entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. And we have a cohort of, I think it's 9 or 10 small startup ideas that are being mentored through the Stanford University's Accelerator, their Center for Development and Global Innovation, and creating a playbook that outlines, how we could look to creating a potential venture fund that would be a possible follow-on grant with the EDA to support in the future. The impact, I've shared this slide with you before, is really about getting people in the digital economy, supporting digital entrepreneurs, talent attraction to start up here, to move here, and certainly job creation. Just a quick picture of what we hope to be the flagship, what we're calling the Incucelerator, home of the Smart Zone and Invented NMU, which I believe will start breaking ground. Fingers crossed that COVID issues do not derail that, but we're looking at potential other partners in that space with the College of Business, the Cybersecurity Institute, the SISU Institute at NMU, and the Economic Development Organization InvestUP. And then again, the seed support grant that I talked about around creating a venture fund for entrepreneurs in the UP as a potential follow-on funding opportunity in 2021. So I'll stop there. I have time for questions if there are any.
Yeah, I have a question. So are we closing or not going to use the office on Presque Isle? You're moving all operations over there?
I think eventually we will move out of there. Actually, if you've been in there lately, we're busting at the seams. With the COVID restrictions on distancing, that building is not working as well as we would need it to be going forward. Moving to the Main Street, 3rd and Main Street is probably not until, I don't know, was it 18 months out?
How many square feet are you leasing and how much are you contracting it for? Going to be paying for it?
Paulette, you want to answer that? I mean, it's kind of a moving target right now.
Well,
What we're currently estimating is leasing about 3,400 square feet for the smart zone and invented and a total of 7,000 square feet with some of the NMU partners included.
It's almost a whole innovation floor, if you will. Somebody should mute. There's a train going through.
Oh, sorry. What are you paying for the lease? What's the proposed figure? What is the proposed figure for the lease? Lease amount, monthly, yearly?
Yeah, the per square foot amount is proposed to be $25 with a $5 utility per square foot as well.
Have you checked other places or is this?
We've looked at other places. This is the flagship concept. And the nice thing is the EDA grant helps pay for it.
Sounds like a high, $25 sounds like a pretty high figure to me, but I don't really know because I haven't looked around for the city of Marquette.
Yeah.
So you did no competitive, you've already signed this lease and there was
No, we haven't signed anything.
All right.
We got to get the funding first. Let's get the EDA grant first, then we can fight over the money.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
The last time we met in person, there was a lot of celebration that the Marquette Smart Zone had received only one of 10 grants to set up a new type of working relationship. And forgive me, I'm in the car, I don't have my paperwork in front of me, but the idea was that this was going to give us an opportunity to start a new program. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about? It was a brand new facility, and we were one of only very few in the country that was awarded the grant because we had Northern support and the city of Marquette supporting us as well.
Yeah, that's actually the precursor to the EDA proposal. So we were we were one of 10 communities that applied and were selected and awarded technical assistance to help us prepare to craft and prepare and strategize and propose the EDA proposal that we did. That's why we feel so confident in it being granted the EDA funds, because we were handpicked to have help and training and support to get ready and submit.
Okay, so that moved forward quite well then.
So far, so good. Our fingers are crossed that the EDA selects our proposal and we can start to implement and execute.
Thank you.
And we should know in the roughly September timeframe, maybe earlier, but September.
Okay.
Ray, when you're talking about the new CEO, should I leave that out of the name out of the minutes?
Yeah, probably until it's been approved.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And
Good point. Good
It
point.
sounds like it's pretty well done deal if he's going to start next Monday, but
Yeah,
I'll leave it out.
thank you.
Ray, I was just curious when you were going through the new ideas that have came in since COVID, I would kind of think if people were, displaced from work, or if times were uncertain, maybe more people were thinking
Yeah.
entrepreneurially. Were any of the ideas related to COVID or resources to help businesses throughout this, or no?
I'm trying to think. I don't recall of one that was specific for COVID. Paulette, was there anything specific to COVID?
Yeah, we had under confidentiality, of course. We had a gentleman who had an idea for a face shield, instead of being with plastic, to be made with copper, because copper has antibacterial capabilities. And so he's still working on that, doing prototyping on his own currently, but he seems pretty excited about it.
Huh.
And I'll just, this is Fred. I'll just make one quick comment, just as Ray mentioned, this being his last meeting. I just want to officially thank him. He was our first CEO. He started 5 years ago when we had nothing. As the LDFA knows, we came and actually asked to borrow money. We couldn't even get payroll through. And now we have a pretty strong balance sheet, and you guys all keep us honest about that, but that doesn't happen by accident. And the staff has been great. The board's been really solid. And we're going to miss you. The city's going to miss you. And just thanks. I mean, we have like I say, a strong balance sheet and a good reputation in town. And you get a lot of credit for that.
Well, thank you, Fred.
Yeah,
Hi, everyone. This is Fred Molnar with the MEDC. If I could follow up with that. It's been a real pleasure working with Ray over the last 5 years. Him and I have developed, I think, a really good personal working relationship. It's been very professional. From a state perspective, we appreciate everything that's going on in Marquette. And I know it's a team effort, and I just don't want to focus on Ray, but I know Ray, through his leadership, has been really instrumental in moving the whole Marquette Smart Zone forward. There's others, I can tell you, in relative newness of the Smart Zone, the Marquette Smart Zone is outperforming other Smart Zones across the state that have been there for years. And I really do think that does say a lot to the LDFA and also to Ray's leadership. And I know I'm going to miss him personally. So thank you, Ray.
Oh, that's very kind. That's very kind. For those of you that don't know Fred very well, we spend a lot of time in Lansing and talking with Fred. And I can tell you there is no other advocate as strong as Fred Molnar is for the UP downstate. And we're very, very fortunate to have him as part of our team in Lansing and doing the things that he does for us in the Smart Zone world. So thank you as well, Fred. All right. That's my presentation. I turn it back to Leslie.
Okay, thank you so much, Ray. And I echo all those comments that you'll be greatly missed. And I think we all on the board here feel like you've done a fantastic job leading the organization there. So you'll surely be missed.
Thank you.
And we hope that you'll keep in contact.
I'll always come back in the summer.
There you go. Any other comments from our board?
Leslie, just to note that it looked like Dan Immendorfer came in late.
Oh, thank you. I did notice someone joining. Thank you.
He was here. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We can make that adjustment to the minutes.
Yep.
All right. Well, if we have 4 minutes to spare, so if anyone else has anything to say, we've got a couple minutes. Otherwise, we can adjourn.
Hi, this is Gary. I too just want to join in. Ray, thank you. You took this organization much further than I even imagined back when it was just an idea written down on some cocktail napkins, I think. And truly, we will miss you. But as Ray mentioned, I did get an opportunity to briefly meet Joe, and I think he's a top-notch guy and seems to be the person that if we had to replace, you know, Ray, that he's the guy that we would want. And he does have ties to the area. He's a graduate of Northern Michigan University, so he's very familiar with the area and really excited to see what ideas he might bring in. And so thank you, Ray. We'll certainly miss you, and please don't be a stranger. I also want to add, I want to thank each one of you LDFA board members for participating, and thank you for your patience as we kind of fumbled through what we need to do. The next meeting is scheduled for October 19th. You know, it just depends on how the whole COVID situation is going, if we're going to meet again via Zoom or if we're going to be meeting in person, but just stay tuned and we'll figure it out. And so just thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Gary.
So much.
Thank you.
And I always forget if I have to, we adjourn, right? We don't have to motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
Support.
Okay,
I second it.
all right, we've got all the support we need. So all those in favor, and we'll be adjourning.
Bye.
Aye.
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 Thanks so much
Thank
for
you,
joining.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. And thank you, Kyle, for doing all this. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Kyle.